drive by Ant. To the elbow, goes to the opposite corner. Cat got time, fires the three, and drains it again. 3 for 3 from long range for Karl Anthony Towns. The Wolves go up 5 with 5 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter.
So smart by Kyle Anderson. You saw Kyle waving Cat into the corner. When the ball rotates to Cat in the corner, it's Kyle who sets the screen on the rotating defender, which didn't allow him to close out to Cat.
Great
screen. Smart play by Kyle Anderson.
Hey guys, it's Marshall in Minnetonka. Great exhilarating win last night. Kyle Anderson has been simply sensational throughout this entire series. He's doing everything right with and without the basketball. The hard screens, the directing of Cat to the corner, the hook shots in the lane, the fadeaway jumpers, the defense on Luka bothering him with his physicality, the block late that led to an Ant slam on the fast break. They would not have a chance in this series without Kyle Anderson.
That's an awesome talkback. That's one of my favorite talkbacks since the invention of talking back at the free iHeartRadio app. Just the way my man laid it out. I mean, it's Kyle Anderson has been he's been the glue in so many ways, and he bugs Luka just like my man just said. And Finch talked about it a little bit because of his size. But there was a key moment last night where Karl Anthony Towns was out on the perimeter and he was ball watching. He was watching Anthony Edwards. I don't know if he didn't know the play or what, but he was just watching Ant late in the game dribble to the right of the free throw line. And I couldn't figure out, and I went back and watched it, and I couldn't figure out why Anthony was just like dribbling back and forth and like just pounding the ball like James Harden. It's because he was waiting for Karl Anthony Towns to get in the corner in front of the bench because he knew a Kyle Anderson pick was coming on a play that they've run successfully and a lot. Now, certainly in the Phoenix series, not so much in the Denver series, but in this series. And Karl's there watching Ant, and then Slow-Mo's like, Cat! And he waves him to the corner, sets a little pick. I think it's called a brush screen. And Anthony penetrates and kicks it out to the corner, and Karl nails it. Now, the nailing part of it is obviously very important. But I brought this up with Chris Finch. You'll hear the interview back less than 90 minutes from now. I saw it a lot in the Phoenix series and loved it. You can't run it every single time because then they eventually know every iteration of it that's coming. But when Edwards gets the attention Edwards gets, and he starts penetrating, because he can beat anybody in the NBA one-on-one off the dribble. Anybody, at any time. Thus the doubles and triples. So when he gets inside the foul line, generally free throw line extended, he's not looking to get to the basket or shoot. He's looking to kick it out to the corner for a three. And Gobert and Anderson are setting such good picks on these that, like Alexander Walker hit a huge one, I think, in the third quarter, or maybe the second quarter.
It was third quarter.
But they're missing a lot of these too.
Yeah.
Where it's very you'll see Anthony penetrate, and then he stops. And then he kicks out to the corner, and there's a pick. And my man, whomever it is wide open every time. And we're just not hitting enough of those. But maybe with Karl Anthony Towns igniting with those three-pointers relatively late in the game, and Finch, in Game 4, I brought this up, or Game 3. I brought this up Monday and then ran it by Chris today, where it's like Karl Anthony Towns in Game 3 was so bad shooting, but yet Chris kept him in the game and didn't tell him to not shoot. And that's those who have played basketball, if you got somebody who can shoot and they're off, you got to let them shoot through it. And that's what Finch did with Cat, and I firmly believe it played into reinstilling some of his confidence to hit those shots last night. And good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, back to Cat in a second, but really what's been a fun experience through these playoffs is Kyle Anderson. The conversation around Kyle Anderson in the Nuggets series is, I don't know if you want him on the floor. I don't know if you want Kyle Anderson to participate in this series. And then people are thinking, man, weren't they talking about trading him at the deadline? And, why in the hell is Chris Finch putting this guy in a spot, these weird lineups coming out of the first quarter break, and how much of a disaster it was? And we were doing the plus-minus bit. When Ant's on the court, they're +5, +8. When Kyle Anderson rolled in for 3 minutes, suddenly they were -13. this series. And by the way, not just the offense in the first couple of games in particular, but like joking, LFL style jokes. Your Kyle Anderson box score, he's only 1 of 3 shooting, only 2 points.
Yeah.
So that's a little less actually than what he's provided offensively in the series. But last night, 4 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals. And then all the other things, the ancillary bits, as you dig into as to how vital. Now it's a conversation of last night, guys in foul trouble. Everybody's in freaking foul trouble last night. You can't take Kyle Anderson off the court.
Can't take him out.
6 minutes was 6 minutes too many against the Nuggets. Last night, 25 felt like maybe it should have been closer to 30. And so that's the fun experience is how, in the end, looking back at these playoffs, however it goes moving forward, you're going to look at 4 completely different personality, or 3 completely different personalities of the Wolves, from the Sun series into the Nuggets, and then now what we're experiencing with the Mavs. With Cat, I don't think Cat's had a shooting slump like he had in the first 3 games. Can you remember a time where he's had that?
No.
In his career?
No.
And that's you gotta let a guy get out of his own head, get on the court, and find that freaking bucket again. And what was interesting, I don't know if it was intentional or whatnot, but I when I was in for you yesterday, I want to see them run a play to get Karl Anthony Towns a 3-point shot within the first 30 seconds of the game. Like, if we're going to go out, we're going to go out with our guys trying to make buckets, specifically Cat. And Parker Fox is in studio. And he's like, I'd like to see him get to the rim and either force an and one, but be physical inside and just find a way to make a bucket go in. And I think Parker Fox, his point, he knows the game, he plays the game. I think he was smarter in that realm, but did you notice his first 6 or 7 shots of the game last night, PA, were not 3-pointers?
Yeah.
It was getting to the rim, and those charges, he's just, you could see it coming a mile away, Carl. Stop taking the charges, and just please, I need you to be smarter in some of those moments, my man.
Yeah.
But his first 6 or 7 shots were all inside action, and then finally in the second half, they're like, oh, well, if we're going to go out, we got to go out swinging, and then he goes 4 for 4. And you could see those guys come alive. It's like, whoo, kitty purring. Yeah. Let's ride. And that was a sweet moment when he went on that highlight I played. That was when he was 3 of 3. He hit one more shortly after that. He was on a tear. And you could just see that bench come alive, not only because their guy, is making plays, but they know what that means for this team.
Right.
And when Cat's flying high, like he found his way last night in the second half.
Yep.
That's how you get those W's.
Karl Anthony Towns' rebounding last night was that of aggression, that of, for the most part, discipline, and that of tenacity. And his rebounding, specifically in a game, where Daniel Gafford is blocking his shots. Blocked 2 back-to-back. And Karl didn't complain, and he stayed the course, which is very key for him. Very impressed with his resolve and his bounce back last night for Karl Anthony Towns, despite the fouls. But what impressed me most last night, with the Timberwolves have responded from cliched proverbial punches at times this series because all the games have been close. So, like, they're winning by 13, 15, 17, 18 in game 2, and the Mavericks start throwing haymakers. Well, they responded initially, but then Mama said, knock you out. And I brought that up with Chris. Game 2 was a swing game, and it's a game the Dallas Mavericks were begging you to blow them out, like they've been blown out the previous 2 series, at least one game or just one game. And you did not acquiesce. And I think that's going to be problematic as you continue to stave elimination, but I don't, they don't, and we can't dwell. But that's about the only time where they were getting waylaid and didn't really respond to the punches. Well, the final, minute and a half to 2.5 minutes of games with Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving becoming immortality, those are punches from which you need to respond, but it's very difficult when it seems Doncic and or Irving can get a basket whenever they want a basket until last night. And there were so many key moments in that game where the Wolves would be leading by 7 or 6 or 5 or 7 or 6 or 5. and then the sucker would get down and be about tied.
Yeah.
In fact, there were several key moments last night in a fascinating game. But the Timberwolves were up 195. Edwards and Karl Anthony Towns have outplayed Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, mostly due to Irving's off night. The Wolves went on an 11-2 run, and then Karl fouls out. So you got an 8-point lead with them outplaying their 1 and their 1A, their MV2. So the question I had at that moment is, how will they respond given the foolish nature of some of these fouls? And Dallas is making that move that we're accustomed to the Mavericks making, blowing by us, and then we can't catch them. So the Timberwolves get up 197, and this was after Jaden Hardy dunked on all of Howl Nation.
Yeah.
And Hardy's having a good series, and he's a nice little spark plug off the bench. Their bench is outscoring our bench, but it ignited everything. I mean, the bench was going crazy. The crowd was going. That was it right there. That was the roundhouse that generally Mama said knocked them out, and they got knocked out. But after that, to make it 102-97, Anthony Edwards hits a 3 with 38 seconds left. It's the biggest shot of the series. It's absolutely the biggest shot of the series, specifically how they responded from the energy and emotion of the whole thing, just flipped on them right in their faces with that dunk. So that's the biggest shot of the series, the biggest shot of the season, and the biggest shot of Anthony Edwards' career, quite honestly, at this point. 102-97 is what it made the score. See, because then it's the waves. Basketball is a game of waves. And so therefore the Hardy dunk can lead to a 6-0 the wrong way, and then you can't get up. The Edwards response with a 3 to give them a 102-97 lead. Very, very late in the game. What did it lead to? Kyrie Irving throwing the ball away. So they went to pressing. It's like that moment we had in Game 4 where Edwards dunks like Jordan, Harold, Baby Jordan Minor, and or Dr. Duncanstein. And then the Mavericks press, come back. Derrick Jones Jr. picks up his dribble on the baseline, throws some weak behind the back thing that goes out of bounds.
Yeah.
So they can be had. Everybody can be had. You just gotta not only put pressure on them, which is happening, but respond when the high enders get an opportunity to do what they're gifted to do, score and change the game. There just wasn't requisite response late in games,
no,
like there was last night. Man, that Edwards 3 to make it 102-97. That was such a massive shot.
Yeah, and he just called game on that shot where he just stepped up. I think it was just inside the 3-point line, but it was pure. It was pure clutch.
Yeah,
and he's just, I'm going to take over and I'm going to make this shot.
Yep, 102-97. My bad.
But what you're talking about here is a team that rose into clutch time. They rose. We've gone over this, ends of quarters, ends of halves, and just weird things that were happening. Even last night, to end the first half, getting out of there tied was a W. If you remember at the end of the second quarter, we got weird turnovers. We're not making shots, but they're not making shots.
Yeah.
A couple of bad turnovers each, and Finch hit on it. The turnovers were disastrous at times last night.
In the first half, I think we had 9.
But in some ways, getting out alive tied at the end of the second quarter, that was a W.
Agreed.
And then in late stages, when he hit that shot, I jumped out of my bed and I'm fist pumping quietly to not wake the kids up. But the thing I'm thinking about is make your free throws and then you're done. What I hadn't thought about is, how to organize this thing, how to coach this thing to the finish line. And as good a coach as Finch is, he's even referenced it earlier in the series. Could have called a timeout. I think it was game 2 where I wanted to get Conley in a certain spot, wanted to reset things, and just managing the final moments of the game. And I don't remember who missed the free throw, but I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, why in the hell is Rudy still in the game when this is free throw territory here? When it goes 102-97 and we're talking 35 seconds left, even if they hit a 3 on the other end to make it a 2-point game, You're in that stretch now. Possess, get it in a comfortable guy's hands, and they're going to foul you, and now you got to make shots.
Yeah.
I can't remember who missed the shot. Rudy gets the rebound. I'm like, no, don't put Rudy on the line. No. Finch, timeout in time just before Rudy gets fouled.
Key.
And so every aspect last night, even despite imperfections with the offense at times and not being able to pull away, you are playing Luka and Kyrie, and as bad a night as he had, he started cooking with the floaters in the fourth quarter. The management, the coaching was right and pure last night as well. And so closing those games out, Anthony had that audio I played during the montage. I was having trouble. I wasn't being aggressive. I was floating off to the corner. I was being, effectively, I'm being passive. That's not going to happen anymore. And that shot you were talking about to make it 102-97, picture perfect of a big timer being the big timer and effectively calling game in that moment.
You mentioned it earlier, and it deserves another mention without significantly unpacking and inbounds play, because there are several common threads with Chris Finch since he's been here, but he takes a lot of pride in his late game inbound plays when the Timberwolves have the ball. And man, did they unfurl a good one last night with Slow-Mo and Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Kyle Anderson, like the talkback said. I mean, he's right. I mean, they're swept. They're swept if Kyle does not cleverly get them positioned, set up, and just the nuance-related things to the game last night. He had a massive offensive rebound, too, where Gafford was caught standing flat-footed because he thought it was coming right to him. And Slow-Mo goes Superman on it, comes flying through, keeps it, and the Wolves kept the possession. So Kyle Anderson and the reverting of postseason performances, reverting to the player they know they have, has been amazingly key for the Wolves, even though they're still down 3-1. And in closing here,
minor clipping penalty, by the way. Kyle Anderson had 3 of the team's total 6 offensive boards last night.
Wow.
Yeah, six offensive boards. That's
what a great
insanity,
pull that was, brother.
But Kyle Anderson had half of them with 3.
Now, help me with this in closing for this segment. Then News du Nord, then YA in studio for a few. Then we replay Finchy and Staying Alive if we have time. How are we going to do this? Oh, yeah. Is it, and I'm being serious here, is it our job as viewers or listeners to Timberwolves basketball or the NBA? Is it our job to know analytics like clutch time points, or is it for the Vox to teach during the course of the call, radio or TV? Now, FICA, fairness and clutch time points. I've heard it 8 million times. If it's you got to be right and it's heaven, and if you're wrong, it's hell, and you got to guess right now. I'm guessing it's something involving the final 5 minutes of games.
Yeah, I think it's either the final 3 or the final 5.
Right. So I mean, there we go. It may be a little hot up in here if we don't know that thing.
And Dallas has been what? They've been elite at it.
Yeah, right. But the point being here is you hear it so much. Horton used it at the end of his Game 4 call. And the Dallas Mavericks have won a clutch time game or something like that. Is it our job to figure it out? Or like when Allen, like Kevin Harlan last night, the TNT graphic, Dallas has 4 consecutive clutch wins. Harlan then said, Dallas, the best clutch rating team in the NBA. Is it so widespread and known and understood by everybody but me that it doesn't require explanation as to what it is? Because it's just floating around there so frequently that I'm like, damn, man, I probably should look this thing up.
I would actually assume that most people are like me, and maybe I'm with you on this, is the fact that when I hear clutch time points, I'm picturing final moments of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I'm picturing score within a particular margin.
Yeah.
Maybe that even includes the idea that within the final 3 to 5 minutes, you're trailing in that game. I don't know if that's part specifically of clutch time points, but I've never looked into it. I'm just thinking clutch time moments that a score's within. It's a 1 possession game, final 5 minutes or so of the game, and that Dallas is handling business in those games. So I've never, and I haven't yet. You know what? We'll Google it during the break. the letter of the law to clutch time points. But that's I think most people are like us, where we just kind of assumed that it meant it's a nail biter and Dallas is winning them.
They didn't lay down last night and or get blown into oblivion, and we howl on. Carl hit shots, and they won. Kyrie finally gave us a substandard, sub-immortality-like game, which he's apt to do, and the Timberwolves won. Shaq, concerned about being back in cold-ass Minnesota with that tired bit, even though it's going to be 78 and sunny on game day. And the Timberwolves finished a game. They didn't give away a game. They didn't have Rudy on Luka at the buzzer of a tightly contested game. And we didn't have to be concerned with no missed calls on Luka Doncic walks that win games. So thus, we howl on.
And
welcome back, 9 to noon. It is time for News du Nord, which is brought to you by The Casino at Canterbury Park. You're feeling the felt, poker, blackjack, table games all year round. And it's live racing season, so get to CanterburyPark.com. Figure out the 2024 schedule and when you can be there. Family days on Sundays, that's my favorite time to go because the girls love it. They got face painting, they got food and desserts and ice cream and things for the kids. It's an amazing spot to go. And then I look at Dave's faves and I house a pick 5 and everyone's happy. So go to CanterburyPark.com. PA, we've spent so much time on the Howl, but it was nice to have Florio last hour, and you mentioned it into the conversation with Michael, that the Vikings made a move. And so I believe there's some Vikings fans out there that might be very happy. And they're howling, or they're I don't know. What are you going to do? Yeah. What are you going to do with Dalton Risner's name other than put it on the back of a Vikings jersey? Veteran guard Dalton Risner, per Adam Schefter, is re-signing with the Vikings on a 1-year deal. There might be some per-game roster, points of the season type of bonus structuring involved there. But for a guy that played as well as he did at times for the Vikings a year ago, went out on the market, and crickets. And now this is the second year in a row that it happened.
Yeah.
This time, instead of training camp, probably much to the delight not only of the team that now has him, the Vikings, but also the player himself, Dalton Risner. Didn't have to wait until late July, early August for camp. He re-signs that deal. It's a 1-year affair, and he's back in purple.
I was at Vikings OTA yesterday and was having a conversation with somebody about Dalton. And the way it was laid out was the one thing that always surprised me through all of the Vikes bites with Dalton Risner, us wondering up to the draft, about the status of Risner and the Minnesota Vikings, and then Blake Brandel slides into the left guard spot, and Blake's bigger than Dalton. And Ingram is a bigger kind of guy who's, from what I understand, the best thing Ed Ingram does, like the best part of his game, is firing off the ball. Fires off of it very violently and aggressively and kind of gets you set up with the inside run game. And the inside run game is something that I think is, it's of importance to all NFL teams, but not all NFL teams use it as frequently as some others and or are potent with it as some other teams are. I think it's an emphasis with the Vikings offense this year to be better running between the tackles. Now, that requires size. Risner is a better pass protector than he is a run blocker. And that's just, I don't need analytics to prove that to me. That's just how he's been all of his career. And the thing that I was discussing yesterday is what kind of surprised me is that the Vikings are a pass-first team, and he is a pass-protecting first offensive lineman. So the re-signing of Risner, which has not been confirmed by the team, but I do believe it's accurate, it gives them flexibility for both guard spots. As they advance through minicamp next week, then training camp. I'm not going to put a prove it deal on it because I don't really know what goes into it. But Risner he's back in the mix, if only for now.
Well, first of all, how annoyed is Blake Brandel? Because all the conversation, at least for a couple of weeks, was And even Wes Phillips, we played his press conference last week during OTAs. Blake Brandel is starting left guard.
Yeah, and he can also be the starting right guard.
Well,
if they need him,
and that's kind of the pivot point, right? Is Brandel the 3 years, $9 million? Maybe it's a lot for a backup, but they also have a second round pick now that needs room. Needs to take advantage of said room to grow. So looking at that, to the Minnesota Twins, Simeon, Woods, Richardson. It's a lot to put on a jersey. Simeon Woods Richardson got his first win since I believe his first start of the year, which was back on April 13th. He may even lead starters in ERA with 2.7, but he got out alive yesterday. 5 innings, just a couple of runs. And the Minnesota Twins, 4-2 victors. And now I believe they've won 6 of their last 7 games.
So we've gone bang-bang against the Royals.
We've gone bang-bang so far. We won the Rangers series. We won the Natties series, and that's coming off of that nasty week with the Yankees sweep and the Guardians sweep in Cleveland. You lose that first one to the Natties 12-3. And now you've gone 6 of 7 against the Royals. In terms of room that they're making in the division right now, of course, the Guardians still atop, and it's still a 6.5 game gap between the Twins and the Guardians. Weird thing about this, I was talking about this yesterday, PA. The TV deal thing's been negative. Buxton, hurt, now back in the mix. How's Carlos Correa doing?
Yeah.
Max Kepler, still kind of the cream of the crop offensively, so that's still a positive thing that's happening on a daily basis.
Kirilloff either walked off or had a game winner the other day. That it's like a Bigfoot sighting. I think I saw it on MLB Network.
And so all these things, and then they go, I think they're 0-5 this year against the Guardians. They're 6.5 back in the division. They're on pace for 90 wins right now, and it's still early. It's still early in the season, but it was one of those things. If we're talking in March, PA, and we're having the bonuses and the Dan Hayes and everybody, Gleemans of the world, everyone that follows this baseball team closely, 90 wins felt like that might be enough to get the Central. Yet we're staring 6.5 back at the Guardians at this point. But the team's very much through 6 of 7. If they can stop these weird waves, win 6 of 7. Lose 10 in a row, win 12 in a row, lose your next 6 or 7. If they can stop those waves, they'll be in pretty good shape. They have another one, 6:40 tonight against the Kansas City Royals, and it'll be Bailey Ober on the mound against Seth Lugo. So looking forward to that one for Twins fans.
Lugo might be their best pitcher right now. He might be.
For the Royals right now?
Yeah, right now he might be.
Yeah, the Royals have been playing really well. Now, we've handled them 2 times in a row, but good things so far for Kansas City Royals fans. And I think that's the last one against them. No, we got a Thursday game. It's a nooner. And then we head to Houston. Great. Then we head to the Yankees. Great. And then we take a breath and hopefully sweep the Pittsburgh Pirates. So big roadie coming up.
Well, the Yankees bit's key, man. I mean, granted, I'm in the Comcast covenant, so all of these are Bigfoot sightings for yours truly. And yeah, I know I can get Fubo or Hulu or Charania, whatever it's called, but I'm not. So I'm not. That's it. I'm in the Comcast covenant, and I want to watch Twins games, and I can't. And that's the lot in life with which we have to deal. But the point being here is, even whether it's a Bigfoot sighting or not, the Yankees came in here and ruined everything again.
Yep.
I mean, you got Aaron Judge running around the bases, Soto's doing some things, Volpe, and the Yankees just demoralized us, kind of put us on that negative skein, and it takes a little while to dig out of it after the Bronx Bombers go Bronx bombing on us.
The PWHL has a Game 5, a winner-take-all this evening. It's in Lowell, Massachusetts. It's at 6 p.m. Central, the battle for the Walter Cup. And Minnesota's PWHL squad is very much in the mix. I don't know if you saw that over the weekend. We didn't get a chance to talk much about it on Monday, but the Sunday game at the X, like 13,000 people there.
Yeah.
Parker Fox's girlfriend, Taylor Heisey, has the game winner. It's disallowed due to interference.
Wow.
Boston walks off it was like 2 shifts later.
Wow.
They're celebrating, and then, hang on, here's the video review that probably took too long. We got Lavelle in here. He's flop sweat style because he's covering the game. Was hoping to watch Wolves Game 3. He's at the X for 4 hours. Doesn't know what he's doing. The whole thing. But game 5 is tonight. You're going to be able to watch that if you actually have Bally's. or on YouTube. You'll be able to watch that at 6 o'clock tonight. But one way or the other, we're all rooting for Minnesota to take home the inaugural Walter Cup in the PWHL. Tough end to the regular season. Had some trouble scoring goals, but here they are with a win-take-all opportunity. That's pretty cool for the ladies.
And what also is cool is that I don't know how many teams are in the Professional Women's Hockey League. But the final two involve a state of hockey team and a team from the Boston market. That's pretty good. That's not a bad way to grow your game for these young ladies because of all the eyes from Beantown and the state of hockey brand here. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it kind of had to be that way, right? Like, I mean, just let's get Minnesota in the mix here and get this thing off to a great start. Final thing for you, I'll stick with the ladies.
Yeah.
The 4-1 Minnesota Lynx are hosting the Las Vegas Aces tonight at 7 p.m. I believe you're going to be able to hear that right here on your home, not only for the Howl, but the Lynx as well at 7 p.m. Cheryl Reeves' team off to a great start. We've had the chance to talk to her a couple of times over the last few weeks. Everyone's focused on Caitlin Clark. Everyone's focused on that right now, but...
Oh, I'm on Caitlin hard. Like I watched part of the game last night, and I make it a point to go to ESPN and then click on the Fever game. Now, they're like 1-7. It's diseased.
Yeah.
But they put together spectacular highlight packages for Clark because they're obviously getting a lot of clicks, including me.
Oh, she created... I saw one highlight last night because I did not watch the game, but I saw it on X. Creates the turnover, and then terrific pass... 30-foot three-pointer, swish.
Yeah.
I mean, it was...
Yeah, she's
doing it right now.
Yeah, she's as fun to watch as I can remember me getting bitten by an athlete and going out of my way to watch a non-local market athlete as in quite some time. I mean, she's spectacular, so hopefully that team's able to turn it around for her. Alec Lewis, YA, beloved YA, on some Vikings and some Timberwolves and much more. He joins 9 to noon around the corner. You're listening to FM 100.3 KFAN.